Most of the time, we have a problem in our leadership. It's not because we have bad strategy or we've made a bad decision. It's almost always, about 80-ish% of the time, a communication issue. And the cost of unclear communication isn't usually just a little bit. It's a lot of wasted time. It's absolutely broken trust and a lot of lost joy. So I want you to do a little thought experiment. Imagine in your mind, picture a high heeled shoe. Hold that picture for a second. If you're new here, welcome to the Joyosity Podcast. I'm so glad that you found your way to this corner of leadership and life where joy isn't extra or something we do later. It's right in the center. I'm Jenn Whitmer, international keynote speaker, leadership consultant, and all around joy bringer. And this fall, I have a new book coming out called Joyosity: How to Cultivate Intense Happiness in Work and in Life, even when things are what they are. And so if you are jumping back in, welcome. We are continuing the series based on my book that's coming out in just a few weeks. And around here at Joyosity, we are not settling for toxicity. We're not doing overwhelmed leaders. We're not doing exhaustion. I'm helping your way out of that. So each episode, I'm bringing you stories and research and tools so you can use them right away to create a better, more joyful life and workplace. And we must start with you. Okay, back to the shoe. So I want you to, whatever that shoe was that you imagined, did you see like a sleek black patent Louboutin stiletto with like a red sole? Or did you see a chunky wedge sandal maybe? Or if you're a history buff, did you imagine Louis XIV's red-heeled men's shoes that like screamed royalty? Which one? I bet it wasn't the Sun King's shoes. That's probably not what you pictured, a red-heeled men's shoe. Because here's the point. The same words can create totally different pictures. Our job in communication is to help those things align. You use the same words, but people will make meaning based on their own experiences, ideas, thoughts, logic, all of that. And if communication is your primary engagement tool of leadership, if we need communication so badly, we've got to understand how to accomplish healthy and effective communication. Leadership isn't about accomplishing the goal by yourself anymore. That's not leadership. If you've been recently promoted, you've probably discovered, oh, this is a different skill than just being an individual contributor. Leading is about accomplishing the goal with and through others. And if you're going to do it with and through others, they can't read your mind, friend. You've got to use healthy communication. And it's really easy to assume that because communication is happening all the time, that it's actually done well. But communication, the goal of communication, if you've ever listened to me and you've been in one of my keynotes, you know what's coming. The goal of communication is shared meaning. That's what we're doing. But so much of the time, we're not creating shared meaning, we're just making noise. And if you're not creating shared meaning, you're not leading effectively. You're leaving people guessing, and people guess wrong most of the time. So you get a lot of wasted time, a lot of broken trust, and a lot of lost joy. Managing the noise from miscommunication costs you actual dollars. About $11,000 per employee for large companies, and for smaller businesses, up to $420,000 a year, according to Zippia. And in that same study, they discovered that half of business also lost clients because of miscommunication. I'm sure you're like, yeah, I get it. But sometimes we don't think, oh my gosh, it's that costly. I could do a lot of things with $11,000. I could do a whole bunch with $420,000. But it's not just the money. It's actually much deeper than that. 80% of employees report that workplace anxiety, the most significant cause, is ineffective company communication. 80%. And 86% of employees and executives cite lack of effective communication as the main cause of workplace failures and decreases in productivity. Unclear communication doesn't just cost you time and money. It festers inside of you with that anxiety. It breaks trust. It kills your want to. I want to do this. It's just destructive because you're like, it's just going to be unclear anyway. So why even bother? Miscommunication is costly to you. It's part of the reason why I wrote Joyosity. So it's my new book that's coming out this fall, How to Cultivate Intense Happiness in Work and Life. And it's filled with communication tools. I have 2 whole chapters on communication and conflict. We're going to talk about conflict next week, but in communication tools, so you can really create shared meaning, because the goal of communication is shared meaning instead of cultivating confusion. And that's not, we don't. I have 2 keynotes and a couple workshops on communication, on conflict, on intergenerational communication that will help your team if that is interesting to you. So we can learn the foundations and build on the nuances of communication so it doesn't steal your joy. So bringing me in to help your team or your next event, you can go to jennwhitmer.com/book jennwhitmer.com/bookjen and grab some time so we can talk about that. Because while we're going to give you some good tools today, I can only do so much in a 15-20 minute podcast. Bringing me in to help you is far more valuable. So go just grab some time with me on the phone. There's no obligation. We'll just talk through, is this a good fit for what you're wanting for your event or for your team? But for today, in our 15-20 minutes together, let's talk about what you can do as a leader right now. So as a reminder, your primary engagement tool is communication. Leadership is about accomplishing the goal with and through others. And in the silence or the unfinished communication, people will put in their own stories. They cannot read your mind. So this is how you get anything done with others, by communicating things. So how do you make sure that communication isn't shared, is creating shared meaning? As I said, in the book, there's a ton more. But the 2 things I want to talk about today is 1, check your assumptions. Don't just assume that others heard what you intended to say. Ask them. Ask them to reflect back to you what they heard. Check assumptions. You can do that in a lot of different ways, in emails, over the phone, in a meeting, but you've got to check assumptions. Don't just assume that because you said it, it has happened. It's not DoorDash pizza delivery. Boop, done. It's a back and forth. Communication is back and forth. It is a cycle that goes back and forth. It is not a one-way street. The second thing you need to do in really healthy communication is connect the dots. Help people see the train. So even if you do leave something out, they are following where you're going. Connect the dots in your communication to the larger purpose, to your values, like we talked about last week, or 2 weeks ago, we talked about values. I'll put the episode in the show notes. But the connecting the dots to the larger purpose, to the larger values, helps create clear communication. In the book, I go into this much more, but Brene Brown talks about painting done. So it's her concept, but the idea is it's not just a sketch. It is a full color picture of what done looks like. Paint done, connect the dots for people. And then here's a super practical thing to do in your meetings. I want you to do this anytime you've had a conversation with somebody. If it is something that you are sharing information, a kickoff meeting, creating a project, a feedback session, a check-in, 90% of the time, this is the way I want you to end a conversation. End by asking, what questions can I answer? And then wait. Do not fill the silence. Here's what happens. We easily rush on to the next agenda item, or we rush in with our own thoughts to explain it some more. I I am a chief offender of this. I literally, I'm going to give you my tool that I use for myself because this is huge for you as a communication tool. What questions can I answer? And then wait. Give people the space to think and respond. Clarity doesn't happen because you finish talking, and it especially doesn't happen if you just start talking again. Clarity happens when other people feel safe to say, here's what I didn't quite understand, or here's what I think you're saying. Is that right? You need to wait. Don't fill the silence. So here's my best trick. I learned this as an educator in my undergraduate education courses. When you ask a question, wait 8 to 12 seconds. I usually count to 10. It's going to feel like an eternity until you have practiced this. It feels uncomfortable. It can feel awkward. You might be the only person feeling that because here's what's happening for your conversational partner or the other people in the meeting. You've asked, what questions can I answer? First of all, you're assuming that there's going to be a back and forth. And then when you wait, they have digested something, they're formulating something in their mind, and then they can deal with the bravery of raising their hand to be brave enough to ask a question. Because every time, even the person who asks questions all the time, that is still a brave act every time, because questions demonstrate a vulnerability. So let them be brave enough to ask. It takes a little bit to stir up courage. Me just explaining that to you, I think took about 45 seconds. So you waiting 8 to 12 seconds is powerful as a leader. Ask the question, what questions can I answer? I know it feels so weird. We're so used to not having dead air. We're like, oh my gosh, it's dead air. It's fine. Let people think for a moment. And when you do this, communication is more robust. It becomes this engine for alignment, for engagement, for joy. It's powerful when you have effective communication. And in the book Joyosity and the accompanying workbook, the playbook, I give you frameworks even more than this to help you practice communication skills that build trust, they create shared meaning, and they move you forward as a team. And next week, we're going to dig into what happens when it's not just miscommunication, it's actual conflict, and why avoiding it creates fake peace. And so, how you can use curiosity and your good communication skills to turn conflict into an opportunity. Because these are connected, not only connected together, communication and conflict, but they're connected to your joy. And if I just, put my coach hat on for a second, I want you to take a breath and ask yourself, where are you assuming communication has happened? Where are those assumptions living for you? I would love for you to share this episode with other people who are like, oh, this is such a great tip. This is such a great tool. Everybody wants to communicate better. I literally don't know anybody who's like, no, I'm perfect at communication. I'm a communication expert. I have extra training in conflict, and I still know that I can do it better. So share this episode with somebody who's like, yes, I need that. Check the show notes for all the links. And you can also, I'd love for you to follow me and connect on LinkedIn. If you go to LinkedIn, you have to click the three little dots and click connect. On Instagram, it's at Jenn_Whitmer. You can always just drop me an email, Jenn with 2 N's at JennWhitmer.com. I would love to hear your responses, how this works for you. If you try it, please share. If you've tried it, I would love to hear what happens. I know you've got everything coming at you all the time. It just gets more and more crowded. And so I appreciate you spending the time with Joyosity on the podcast today. And if you rate and subscribe, it helps more leaders find us. It helps more people become better leaders to cultivate real joy. And we can create positive cultures with complex people. So work is a joy and people are whole and organizations flourish. So I want to leave you with the big idea that the goal of communication is shared meaning. Go make some shared meaning today.